So thank you, and it's great to be here. We're actually pretty deep in the underground, so good place for deep tech startup discussion. But so I try to give a perspective on the what's going on in when AI meets deep tech startup. It's a hard topic, but I made this picture with Midjourney to showcase that, okay, somehow we are in the middle of the hurricane or black hole that is sucking everything, and maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel or not. We'll see when the time goes by, but a lot of interesting things happening. Maybe just to add on myself is that I was the co-founder of Silo AI, exit this summer. Currently, I'm focused on I didn't continue with AMD, so currently I'm focused here in Aalto, actually teaching generative AI and strategy course for master students, and then also active with few startups and larger corporations, and also in process of creating a new company around AI. The question for all the deep tech startups and startups in general is that what's your moat when the AI eats the world? And what I mean by that is that this is a kind of, if you think about it as a stack, in the lower part of the picture there are the models, AI models, where of course we know this GPT-4. When you use ChatGPT, you call GPT-4. If you use Photoshop, you are calling Adobe's Firefly model that they have trained, etc. When you want to clone your voice, you are going, for example, to use the Banterai app that uses the model there to clone your voice. If you don't want to talk to your mother-in-law, then you can, of course, let the AI do the talking. But we are also seeing more and more of this. When you think about what's happening in these models, is that it's not only about text, images, music, voice, and videos, but also think about deep tech, that in a different verticals that you are starting to see interesting models like World Labs developing a 3D world model. They call it the large world model. You are seeing like Chai developing a molecule structure, predicting them. You have also sort of the robotics meeting large language models, because if you think about the language is the model of the world, and now there are, like Google has this RT1 model, but you have Figure 1 is the robot there. They have originally connected their robot with the OpenAI's GPT-4 model and giving the robots kind of brain to operate a task that they have not seen before. So biotech, you have BioGPT, etc. But the point with this picture is that these models are being trained with all the data that is available. And if you're seeing what's happening is that those who are training these models, they try to get whatever data they can. Of course, we know that Google, OpenAI, etc., they are scraping the internet as an accelerating speed. And of course, what is the internet? It's everything that moves goes into the models and gets accumulated to the cumulative intelligence that is in the models. That, of course, means that the barrier to actually start something new, it's getting lower and lower, because you can just plug in the model and you already have all the know-how in the world, and then you can focus on developing the application. And we are seeing that there are more and more vertical models, like for example this Chai-1, which is predicting molecule structures, decoding DNA, etc. It's open. It's an open model. It's available as an open source. So anybody that is thinking about, hey, I should develop something around that area, can plug into the model and start from there rather than building their own model. Then the question comes, of course, for these deep tech startups that are focused on this model development, that how do they compete on the long term? One scenario actually is that this lower part of the picture gets commoditized, that there are so many companies that are focusing on developing these models, and there's always somebody who is offering the latest model as an open source. So you can just think about that, okay, I don't need to care what's the model. and I can just, if I don't like this one, I can switch to the next one, etc. So that's one scenario. Of course, the other scenario is that in the end, this gets verticalized, and there is a lock-in effect that somehow the companies are building the models in such a way that it's hard to switch them. And in that sense, maybe in that scenario also the vertical models, they actually connect into the application layer, so it will be harder for startup to actually plug into those. But I believe more into this scenario, that where you are seeing plenty of models available, they are constantly evolving with the new capabilities. So the question is that what is your moat? What's your differentiation in that world? And I think the differentiation comes very much from the vertical know-how in some sense, that you can sort of develop, you have a vertical know-how, connected that with AI, that where the differentiating comes from. But that's not enough. You need to also get to the market, because very often, even though the development cycles are long, but in the end, it's the momentum in the market and the data that you can collect from there is giving you further advantage, that if you can run faster than others, then that will be the key for long-term differentiation. In some sense, this is actually very similar to the platform market, where the network effect is the key differentiator. Also, when it comes to the data, I think synthetic data is one of the latest trends that is quite hot at the moment. So even if you if you think about the world, hey, you can get started very fast with the existing models, then you can bring synthetic data. So in that sense, even if you don't have access to huge data sources, you can still actually move pretty fast with your vertical startup. Then I was thinking about this, it's hard to give a sort of anything meaningful input to what is the deep tech startup, because there are so many, as we have seen also in this conference. But I did the one classification that maybe gives some guidance to think about that these startups, the deep tech AI archetypes. So the first one here, there are 5 of these. You could easily make 10 of these, but I decided to make only 5. So the visionary inventor is like solving the unsolvable, tackling humanity's biggest challenges. Like in this case, I could have picked as an example AlphaFold, DeepMind's now part of the Google, but I took this more newer company, Chai Discovery, that is developing a molecular prediction model that has been recently launched. Highly funded company. Time will tell whether they really get into the real business. Then the second one is Expertise Fortress. It's kind of focusing in a problem that has a high barrier entry, where you need a lot of deep expertise. And GraphCore is an example of the company that has been developing highly parallel hardware processing AI. So that's one example. Of course, one could say that NVIDIA is the best example of this one as a deep tech startup, but they are already so well known and not really startup anymore. But also here, if you look at maybe a closer example, there was I forgot the name of the company, but a couple of days ago in Finland, there was a new quantum computing company created that is focusing on this problem, that very high expertise needed in quantum computing will require a lot of investment to get there, but high rewards, of course, waiting. Then the third one is Frontier Explorer, bridging disciplines where the AI meets other sciences. And here we have a Benevolent, which is AI for drug discovery. So bridging the AI with the drug discovery, and in that say solving a problem. And here you could pick up any sector, energy, material development, etc. Have a special expertise in a certain area. Meeting AI is an interesting area. Then the market shaper. This is innovation over imitation. I could have picked Tesla here, but it's already kind of old news because they have been kind of originally, when you look at the self-driving, they kind of defined a new category. Of course, Tesla has not progressed as fast as we would have expected when it comes to the self-driving. But Neuro is basically, they skipped the self-driving and jump immediately to the autonomous driving, so no driver, and focusing on the last mile, and in that way redefining the last mile delivery. Starship is a closer example here that is still in the early days, is active also in Finland and other markets, but time will tell whether they would really scale. And then the last one is the high-risk pioneer, pioneering the future, really focusing on long-term innovation. Neuralink, which is connecting the mind with the machine, it's a very interesting one in that sense that will it actually redefine what does it mean to be a human, real deep tech AI sort of the company, and interesting progress with them. Time will tell that whether they will shape our way of sort of the living and what is a human. I hope this gives a little bit food for thought for you when thinking about AI deep tech startups. I basically, to conclude, I wrote this book, Finnish Tekoälyn vallankumous, the last year. Now it's also becoming available in English version. It took 2 seconds to actually translate it. But the publishing process, because it's traditional, took much longer. So the AI is really sort of making a great progress. I also tried like on the recent advancement, if you haven't tried this Google's notebook application where you can easily create for example, put any document including book and you can create a podcast in 1 second. It's just telling that these models are developing very fast. But on the deep tech side, coming back to my first slide, I think the key point is really to think about that. What is your expertise? What is the problem you are attacking? That can you actually, if you look at 2-3 years ahead, that pick up a thing that doesn't get overridden by development of the AI models, but you ride the wave, pick up the problem that you have a deep expertise, and at the same time predict where the AI models would be in 2 years' time so that you can tap to those rather than actually you notice that, hey, my problem was actually solved with the fast development of the Gen AI or other AI models. With that, I think we are ready for an interesting panel. Thank you for your attention.